There's a kind of silence that isn't peaceful. It's heavy. It sits in the chest, like something is trying to speak but can't. You've probably seen it before, or maybe you've been that person. Someone hurts you deeply, and instead of shouting, explaining, or even crying, you just go quiet. Not because you don't feel anything, but because you feel too much. And here's the part that confuses everyone else. The quieter you become, the louder everything gets inside your mind. Imagine this. You're in a conversation with someone you care about. Maybe it's a friend, a partner, someone you trusted. Something they say hits you the wrong way. Not loud, not obvious, just enough. Enough to make your chest tighten. Enough to make your thoughts start racing. You could respond. You could explain why it hurt. But instead, you pause. You nod slightly, maybe force a small smile, and then you slowly disappear into silence. From the outside, it looks like nothing happened, but inside, a storm just started. Here's what most people don't understand. People who go quiet when they're hurt are not weak. They're not bad communicators. They're not too sensitive. They are usually the ones who feel things the deepest, and that depth comes with a cost. Because when you feel deeply, you don't just react to what was said, you replay it again and again and again. You analyze the tone, the timing, the meaning behind the words. You start asking questions like, did they mean to hurt me? Am I overreacting? Should I say something? Or just let it go? And the more you think, the quieter you become. Pause for a second. Think about the last time you went quiet. Not just physically quiet, but emotionally distant. What were you really feeling in that moment? Was it anger? Or was it disappointment? Was it sadness? Or was it the realization that someone you trusted doesn't understand you the way you thought they did?
The truth is, silence is often a form of self-protection.
When someone is hurt, their brain doesn't just think about the moment. It thinks about consequences. If I say how I feel, will it make things worse? Will they dismiss me? Will they turn it back on me? So instead of risking more pain, they choose silence, because silence feels safer than being misunderstood. But there's something deeper happening here. For many people, this pattern didn't start yesterday. It was learned. Maybe they grew up in an environment where expressing emotions wasn't safe, where speaking up led to arguments, rejection, or being ignored. So they adapted. They learned that the best way to survive emotionally was to stay quiet, to process everything internally, to become their own safe space. And over time, that became their default response. Even in relationships where it's actually safe to speak. Let's look at how this plays out in real life. Someone cancels plans on them last minute. They feel hurt, unimportant. But instead of saying, "Hey, that actually bothered me," they say, "It's fine." And they mean it, halfway. Because part of them wants to be understanding, but another part feels ignored. So what do? They withdraw slightly, reply a little slower, talk a little less. Not to punish the other person, but because something inside them quietly shut down. Or in a relationship, their partner says something insensitive. Maybe it wasn't intentional, but it hits a nerve. Instead of addressing it, they go silent. Not cold, not aggressive, just distant. And the partner gets confused. "Why are you acting like this? You were fine a minute ago." But that's the thing. They weren't fine. They just didn't know how to say it without feeling like they were too much. Here's the twist most people miss. Silence isn't the absence of communication. It is communication, just in a different language. It says, "I'm hurt, but I don't feel safe explaining it. I care, but I don't want to be dismissed. I need space because I don't trust my emotions right now." But the problem is, not everyone understands that language. So silence gets misinterpreted as indifference, as attitude, as emotional distance, when in reality, it's the exact opposite. Pause again. If you're someone who goes quiet when you're hurt, ask yourself this. Are you protecting your peace, or are you abandoning your own voice? Because there's a difference. The hardest part about being this kind of person is that you often become your own emotional container. You hold everything in. You process everything alone. You rarely explode, but you slowly fill up. And one day, it's not the big things that break you. It's the accumulation of all the small things you never said. All the moments you chose silence when you actually needed to be heard. But here's something important. Going quiet doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It means you learned to cope in a certain way, a way that protected you at some point. The problem is, what once protected you might now be isolating you, because the people in your life can't understand what you never express. And no, that doesn't mean you need to suddenly become loud or confrontational. It doesn't mean changing who you are. It means slowly learning this. Your feelings deserve space outside your own mind, not just inside it. Imagine what would change if instead of saying, "It's fine," you said, "Hey, that actually hurt me a little." Not aggressively, not dramatically, just honestly. It might feel uncomfortable at first, maybe even scary, but it's a different kind of strength, the kind that doesn't hide behind silence, but doesn't lose itself in noise either. Because at the end of the day, people who go quiet when they're hurt are not emotionless. They are overflowing. They just learn to drown quietly. And maybe the goal isn't to stop feeling so deeply. Maybe the goal is to stop carrying it all alone, because your silence has a story, but your voice is what allows that story to be understood.